My cheating wife left her phone unlocked. What I found made me disappear without a trace. I'm a hydrogeologist. My entire career revolves around identifying contamination that seeps beneath the surface, poisoning everything it touches. Ironic that I couldn't detect the toxic waste spreading through my own marriage until it was too late. But when I finally did, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I did what I do best. I contained the contamination, documented the damage, and eliminated the source. October 3rd, 10:47 p.m. That's when everything changed. Sonia had just gotten home from what she claimed was inventory night at the restaurant. She's a sommelier, or was, but I'm getting ahead of myself. She headed straight for the shower, leaving her phone on the kitchen counter. Not plugged in. Just sitting there, screen up, still unlocked. I wasn't snooping. I was reaching for my work tablet when her phone buzzed. A text preview appeared. Can't stop thinking about this afternoon. You taste better than any vintage. From someone saved as Dustin, wine dist. My hand didn't shake. My pulse didn't race. I picked up the phone with the same steady precision I use when collecting groundwater samples from contaminated sites. What I found over the next 20 minutes was comprehensive evidence of a 7-week affair. Photos. Videos. In our bed. On our couch. Using the wine glasses we'd received as wedding gifts. The messages were worse than the images. She'd shared details about my work, my schedule, my grandmother's recent death. She'd mocked my boring obsession with dirt and water. She'd called me predictable, saying I was too focused on my career to notice anything. She was wrong about that last part. Dustin wasn't a wine distributor. A quick search revealed he was a freelance photojournalist who specialized in environmental exposés. They'd met when he was doing a piece on sustainable wineries. The texts revealed he'd been pumping her for information about my EPA connections, my current contamination assessment that could shut down a major industrial player. I set the phone down exactly where I'd found it, at the same angle. Then I went to my office and began planning. In my line of work, you learn that emotional responses to contamination lead to mistakes. You don't panic when you find benzene in the groundwater. You document, you assess, you contain, you remediate. This was no different. First, I needed evidence preservation. I waited until I heard her snoring. She always drank too much wine after her inventory nights, then took her phone again. Every message, photo, and video was systematically screenshotted and uploaded to 3 separate cloud drives. I sent copies to my brother, who practices family law in another state. The metadata on the photos was particularly useful. They corresponded perfectly with times I'd been at remote assessment sites. She'd been bringing him to our home the moment my truck left the driveway. October 4th, Friday. I went to work as normal. Kissed her goodbye, steady pressure, 3 seconds, exactly like always. She mentioned having another certification class that weekend. I told her I'd be conducting soil samples at the Riverside site. Both lies, perfectly synchronized. Instead of Riverside, I drove to my credit union. I liquidated our joint investment account, completely legal, as both our names were on it and either could withdraw without the other's signature. $47,000 transferred to a new account she didn't know existed. I then went to another bank and opened a safety deposit box for my grandmother's jewelry, which Sonia had been eyeing since the funeral. That afternoon, I met with a divorce attorney my brother had recommended. Fletcher Hoffman, a man who looked like he subsisted entirely on other people's misery and enjoyed every minute of it. I showed him the evidence. He actually smiled, the kind of smile a shark might make before feeding. Infidelity clause in your prenup, he said, tapping the document. She wanted it, ironically. Probably thought you'd be the liability. This is going to be surgical. That evening, I came home with flowers. Sonia laughed, delighted, posting them on Instagram with some vapid caption about unexpected romance. I grilled salmon, opened a $200 bottle of wine she'd been saving. We made love that night. I wanted her to remember it, the last time she'd feel secure. October 5th, Saturday. She left for her certification class at 9 a.m. I had 4 hours. The moving company arrived at 9:30. I'd marked everything that was mine with small colored dots weeks ago during my documentation phase. My clothes, my equipment, my inherited furniture, my books, half the kitchen supplies I brought into the marriage. The movers were efficient. By 1 p.m., the house looked like it had been selectively hollowed out. I changed the locks myself, a skill learned from YouTube. Changed the garage door code. Removed her from my life insurance, my emergency contacts, my retirement beneficiaries, all through online portals. Canceled the credit cards, leaving only the ones in her name. Transferred my phone to a new carrier, new number. At 1:30 p.m., I sent a scheduled email to her restaurant's management. It contained spreadsheets I'd compiled from her inadvertent admissions in text to Dustin about taking bottles home for their encounters. Nothing major, maybe $2,000 in theft over 2 months, but enough. Another scheduled email went to the Court of Master Sommelier, detailing how she'd been sharing confidential information about their examinations with Dustin in exchange for him helping her cheat on her advanced certification. A third went to her parents with the full documentation of her affair, time to arrive Monday morning. They'd co-signed her student loans for culinary school. They deserved to know what their money had produced. At 2 p.m., the divorce papers were filed electronically. Hoffman had worked overtime to make this happen on a Saturday. In our state, I could file without her knowledge and have her served within 48 hours. Then I left. No note. No explanation. Nothing. I drove 800 miles to a colleague's field station where I'd arranged to conduct a legitimate environmental assessment. Phone off. Untraceable. Just another contamination specialist doing his job. Update 1, the detonation. She called the police. That's what I learned from my attorney 3 days after I left. Sonia had come home from her rendezvous with Dustin to find half the house empty, locks changed, and her entire financial world frozen. Her first thought wasn't reflection or guilt, it was that something terrible had happened to me. The police found nothing criminal. A man leaving his cheating spouse and taking his belongings isn't a crime. Hoffman had already informed them of the pending divorce, provided documentation that I was safe and conducting business out of state. They told her it was a civil matter. The scheduled emails had delivered Monday morning while she was at work, trying to maintain normalcy. Her manager called her into the office at 11 a.m. They had security footage of her leaving with bottles on the nights she'd claimed in texts. She tried to deny it, then minimize it, then justify it. They fired her on the spot, telling her she was lucky they weren't pressing charges. The sommelier community is small and unforgiving. Word spread within hours. Her parents called her at noon. Her father, a construction foreman who'd worked overtime for years to pay those student loans, didn't say a word after asking if it was true. Her mother just cried. They didn't cut her off entirely, but the disappointment was worse than anger. The Court of Master Sommelier notification came that afternoon, immediate suspension pending investigation. 3 years of work toward her advanced certification, destroyed. Dustin, the environmental journalist who thought he was so clever? He received a cease and desist from my company's legal department. Turns out, using pillow talk to gather information about EPA investigations is called corporate espionage. His editor dropped him within the week. He tried calling Sonia, but she was toxic now, radioactive, you might say. He blocked her number. She tried to contest the divorce, claimed abandonment. Hoffman destroyed that argument with the infidelity clause and my documented evidence. She tried to claim the investment account was half hers. Technically true, except she'd have to explain why she deserved half of money she'd been spending on hotel rooms with another man. Her lawyer, a bottom feeder she could barely afford, advised her to settle. Take the car, which had 2 years of payments left, her personal belongings, and walk away. She refused at first, convinced she could win sympathy. Then I played my ace. Turns out, Dustin had been recording some of their encounters without her knowledge. I found this out through my company's investigation into his attempted corporate espionage. He had videos on his cloud drive that he'd been planning to use as leverage if needed. My company's lawyers legally obtained these during discovery. I didn't release them. I didn't need to. Just knowing they existed, that her degradation was documented and stored on some server, broke something in her. She signed the papers. Update 2, the aftermath. I'm sitting in my new office, 1,200 miles from the house I used to share with her. Head of Environmental Assessment, Western Division. The promotion came through after my work on the Riverside site uncovered contamination that saved the state from a potential billion-dollar cleanup disaster. Funny how clarity comes when you're not distracted by a failing marriage. Sonia found a job at a chain restaurant, assistant manager position. No more wine expertise needed, just scheduling and inventory. She moved back with her parents, sleeps in her childhood bedroom. I know this not because I'm keeping tabs, but because her mother reached out to apologize for raising someone capable of such betrayal. I thanked her, told her it wasn't her fault. We don't stay in touch. The house sold quickly. Market was hot, and I'd maintained it well. She tried to claim she deserved half the equity. The prenup's infidelity clause said otherwise. That money, combined with the insurance payout from my grandmother's estate that finally cleared probate, set me up nicely in my new city. Here's something interesting. During the divorce discovery, Hoffman found something in her emails. She'd been discussing with Dustin about leaving me once my grandmother's inheritance cleared. They'd been planning to wait until the money was in our joint account, then she'd file for divorce claiming emotional neglect. Dustin would publish his exposé on my company's environmental cover-ups, all fabricated from her misunderstanding of my work, and they'd ride off into the sunset with my money and her victim story. They underestimated me. Both of them. Dustin is currently being sued by 3 separate entities. My company for attempted corporate espionage, the EPA for interfering with federal investigations, and 2 publications for fabricating sources in previous articles they've now had to retract. His photojournalism career is over. Last I heard, he was working at a print shop. Some mutual friends reached out, wanting to hear my side. I told them the truth: she cheated, I left, we divorced. No drama, no details. The ones who pushed for more got blocked. The ones who respected the boundary remained friends. Natural selection. My brother asked if I felt anything: rage, sadness, satisfaction. I told him the truth: I felt clean. Like I decontaminated a site and could finally mark it safe for future development. Update 3, 6 months later, final update. This will be my last update. I'm closing this chapter permanently. Yesterday, I received an email from Sonia. 6 months of silence, then this. I'm sharing it here, unedited except for names. Hector. I know you'll probably delete this without reading it, but I need to say this. I destroyed everything. I know that. I threw away 7 years for nothing. Dustin used me to get to you, and I was too stupid and selfish to see it. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I understand now what I lost. You were building something real while I was playing games. You were planning our future while I was destroying it. Your coldness in those last days, now I know you knew. The dinner, the wine, the flowers. You were saying goodbye, weren't you? Giving me one last perfect memory before taking everything away. That haunts me more than anything else. You could have screamed, thrown things, made a scene. Instead, you just removed me. Like contamination. I work at Applebee's now. I see couples on dates, sharing wine I can't even pronounce anymore, and I think about what we had. What I had. What I destroyed. I'm in therapy. Not for you, but for me. To understand why I did what I did. Why I threw away someone who loved me for someone who was just using me. I hope you're happy in your new life. I mean that. Sonia. I read it once, then deleted it. No response needed. No closure necessary. My new position involves traveling to contamination sites across 3 states. I'm developing new assessment protocols that could revolutionize how we handle groundwater pollution. My work is being published in journals I used to only dream about. I'm dating someone new. A geological engineer named Nora who understands soil samples and respects boundaries. She knows my history. I told her everything on our 4th date. She appreciated the honesty and the clean break from my past. We're taking things slow, building something on solid ground. The contamination metaphor isn't lost on me. In my field, we have something called monitored natural attenuation. Basically, you contain the contamination and let time and natural processes clean it up. That's what I did with my marriage. I didn't try to fix it, negotiate with it, or understand it. I contained it, removed myself from the affected area, and let the natural consequences play out. Some people have called me heartless for how I handled this. They're wrong. It takes heart to love someone for 7 years. It takes heartbreak to discover their betrayal. But it takes something else entirely to respond with precision instead of passion, with calculation instead of chaos. I didn't break when I found those messages. I evolved. I became someone who could look at emotional contamination the same way I look at chemical contamination, objectively, strategically, and without mercy. Sonia thought she was married to a boring man who studied dirt and water. She was actually married to someone who understands that the most dangerous contaminations are the ones you can't see, spreading silently beneath the surface until someone with the right expertise comes along to expose them. I'm that expert. And I'm very, very good at my job. Edit, since many are asking. Yes, the prenup was ironclad. We both wanted one, her idea actually, because she was convinced she'd out-earn me someday with her sommelier career. No, I don't regret the cold execution. Emotional responses are for people who didn't spend 7 years building something just to watch someone else burn it down. Yes, I'm in therapy too. Not because I'm damaged, but because maintaining this level of control requires regular maintenance, like any precision instrument. The inheritance from my grandmother was substantial, mid-six figures. Sonia knew it was coming. The timing of her affair starting just after my grandmother's death wasn't coincidental. Dustin's lawsuits are ongoing. My company doesn't play around with corporate espionage. He's looking at potential criminal charges. Final thoughts. Someone asked me if I won. That's the wrong question. This wasn't a competition. It was contamination remediation. You don't win against toxic waste, you identify it, document it, contain it, and remove it. Then you monitor the site to ensure it stays clean. My site is clean now. The contamination has been removed. The source has been eliminated. The documentation is complete. And I'm building something new on ground I know is solid. That's not winning. That's just good science. If you or someone you know is experiencing infidelity in a relationship, please seek professional counseling. This post describes one person's experience and should not be considered advice. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.